All right, welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Fanan. In this video, we're going to talk about what Shakur Stevenson, the WBO super featherweight champion, or is he super featherweight champion, had to say about Terence Crawford and Jermell Charlo. Let's talk about that in this video. All right, welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Fanan. In this video, we're going to talk about the 147 and the 154-pound division. Shakur Stevenson, who is down at 130 pounds and should be fighting one of the best fights this year against Oscar Valdez, had something to say about Terence Crawford and Jermall Charlo, and his prediction for that fight I thought was really interesting. But before I get into that, though, let me welcome you back to the channel. If you're not a subscriber to the channel, please accept my invitation to subscribe, hit the bell icon so you can be notified of when we release more videos. All right, so here it goes, man. Jermell Charlo, excuse me, is the 154-pound champion, who's the WBA champion, the IBF champion, and the WBC champion. Will be fighting Brian Castano, who's the WBO champion, I do believe in the second week of May. So big fight coming up. I favor Jermell Charlo to win that fight, but the winner of that fight may very well be put in a position of having to fight Terence Crawford, who is the 147-pound WBO champion. And the reason that they may be in the position to have to fight him is because Terence Crawford said that if he does not get the Spence Jr. fight, that he would move up to 154 pounds and chase the winner of Jermell Charlo and Brian Castano. Now, with the Spence Jr. fight with Terence Crawford, there's a lot of financial roadblocks to that fight. Spence Jr. is, the big money dude in the 147-pound division, but there's not enough money in the fight, according to many of the experts that have talked on it, for those guys both to get a $10+ million payday, right? So if that's the case, then that fight may not be able to be made just because of the financial terms of the fight. And Terence Crawford may be forced to move up. And notice I say forced to move up. I'm not saying that he's ducking Spence Jr. I'm not saying Spence Jr. is ducking him. I don't believe that to be the case. Never have I ever believed that to be the case. Both those guys have a lot of dog in them, and both those guys would like to fight. But this is the world of boxing, and a whole bunch of fights that we want to get seen made. Lots of times they do not get made, and that's just kind of, where and that's just, kind of where it is. Sometimes we want to see fights, we get them, sometimes we don't. However, there is a mechanism for Terence Crawford to get a shot against the winner of the Jermell Charlo versus Brian Castano fight, and that is for him to be named the WBO, super champion at 147 pounds, which allows him to move up immediately and challenge the WBO title holder at the weight class above that, which is 154 pounds. And either Brian Castano is going to be the champion or Jermell Charlo is going to be the champion. Can't say which one it's going to be. I do believe it's going to be with Jermell, but that's the road that he has to that. Now, Shakur Stevenson was asked what he thought about the fight between a potential fight between Jermell Charlo and Terence Crawford, and his take was pretty interesting, man. And he's probably the first guy that I've really heard a major fighter say this, that he believes that Jermell Charlo doesn't believe Jermell Charlo can beat Terence Crawford. His logic was the following. He was like, first of all, Jermell talks about how he's a knockout artist, and but if you look at when he fought Tony Harrison, he said, look, Tony, he didn't knock out, well, he wound up knocking out Tony Harrison. But he said he lost to Tony Harrison. So, and he believes that Terence Crawford is a higher level fighter and a better fighter than Tony Harrison is. Was very, careful to say, don't disrespect Tony Harrison, but believes that Terence Crawford is a higher level fighter than Tony Harrison is, and also that Spence Jr. is a better fighter than Jermell Charlo. So even though the Spence Jr. and Terence Crawford fight may be a great close fight, that doesn't mean that it is going to be the case with Terence Crawford and Jermell Charlo. And he also said, look, he's been in the ring, he's been in the gym with Terence Crawford, and he said, man, people are always really, really surprised about how strong Terence Crawford is and how hard Terence Crawford hits. He said that he's seen Terence Crawford knock out heavyweights. He said he's seen Terence Crawford beat up and hurt guys that are 168 pounds who are currently, you know, out and around fighting. He said he wasn't going to mention any names, but he saw him in the gym and saw him hurt him. Immediately when he said that, I was like, all right, you're in a top-ranked gym, ain't you? So what 168 pounder have you seen him beat? Is it Berlanga? You know what I mean? But anyway, I know who it wasn't. It wasn't David Benavidez he was talking about, because if that was the case, we would have heard about it. But you get my point. He says that that Terence Crawford is more than strong enough and is really good. And he said that Jermell Charlo is going to talk all that until he actually gets hit with that. And he thinks that Terence Crawford can really hurt Jermell Charlo, and he's got Jermell Charlo winning that fight. Now, my take on that is that very well may be the case. It's not unusual for guys to move up several weight classes and still wind up having success against guys that are bigger than them, maybe stronger than them, but are not as skilled as they are, right? And Jermell Charlo, I will say this, I like him a lot as a fighter, but Jermell Charlo is somebody that is really, really gung-ho. And, and I did see him get outboxed by Tony Harrison. That's not the same thing to say, however, that because Tony Harrison outboxed him and won a fight. And honestly, I don't think he outboxed him at all. I think Jermell Charlo won that first fight. It may have been a little bit close, and Jermell was missing, with a lot of the shots, like heavy shots that he's throwing. But I thought Jermell Charlo won that fight. In the second fight, though, Jermell Charlo answered the question, came back and knocked that dude out. And the fight with Brian Castano, which was to a draw, I don't think Brian Castano wasn't outboxing him. Brian Castano was just throwing a lot of punches up against the ropes when he got Jermell up against that ropes. But in the middle of the ring, it looked more like Jermell Charlo was kind of trying to figure out what he was going to do with Brian Castano because of Brian Castano's high guard, right? And just was had a little bit of a difficulty trying to figure out exactly where he was, and what he could do against it. But I say that to say that I have not seen Jermell Charlo get outboxed. Also, Terence Crawford, I've seen Terence Crawford get hit by pretty much everybody that Terence Crawford's fought. And I've seen him maybe get buzzed two or three times, but definitely not against guys that are that are hitting as hard as Jermell Charlo. Because even though I'm sure Terence Crawford, that Shakur Stevenson's right about how hard Terence Crawford hits. I mean, Terence Crawford probably don't hit as hard as Jermell Charlo has, and I doubt very much that he's ever been in the ring in a professional fight with no headgear getting hit by guys that hit as hard as Jermell Charlo. But anyway it goes, man, I would love to see the fight. Like I said, I just want to see good boxing matches. I would prefer the Errol Spence Jr. versus Terence Crawford fight. But if for some reason that doesn't go, hey, man, the second best option ain't bad if Terence Crawford moves up to 154. Anyway, it's going to be what it's going to be, and we're going to see it. And I'm going to be there watching the fights anyway it cuts, anyway it goes. Anyway, that's what Shakur Stevenson had to say. You let me know what you think in the comment section. And with that, I'm out. Peace. And hit that like button on the way out. Hit the subscribe button, all that other good stuff. And with that, I'm out. Peace.